Hey guys, back here again to give you my creative musings of the CHIKARA product, as I've been wanting to do for about a week now. I just had to wait until I finally got a chance to watch CHIKARA Source, and I finally have got a chance to watch CHIKARA Source. Won't be doing a review of the show. I won't even be doing star ratings in the description box because that is not what this video is about at all. I just want to kind of speculate on the future creative direction of the company as we head into Young Lions Cup and as we, head into the latter part of season 9, when I really think CHIKARA will start accelerating in terms of what's going on the shows. Based on the live reviews of this show and then later the DVD reviews, I kind of built up this perception in my head that this was a show that was just wrestling for wrestling's sake. And I'm not against that, don't get me wrong. You can definitely tell that by the Japanese reviews that I've been doing lately. I'm not against that per se. That's not the reason I buy CHIKARA DVDs. That's not. When I buy CHIKARA DVDs, I buy it for a different kind of entertainment from pro wrestling. So if this was going to be a show for just wrestling for wrestling's sake, I wouldn't really enjoy it that much. That's not what I think CHIKARA should be. Didn't turn out to be as unremarkable as all that, although I don't think anyone was suggesting that the show did not advance some storylines. I just think that that's kind of the image I got about the show. But it wasn't unremarkable in any sense. You had Bakuro show up, you had the Osirian Portal announce they're going to form a trio, which I am all for. I love those guys. I think if they find a guy that has good chemistry with them, then they can become better babyfaces, and I think they should turn heel. But if they find a third member that could actually afford them some chemistry and actually make them a bit more interesting babyfaces, then I'd be all for that. I don't think they're going to turn heel anytime soon. You just had the Unstable turn heel. I don't think you're going to see an Osirian Portal heel turn anytime soon. So I hope they find someone that can kind of bring some interest back into them, I guess. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. The show did still feel lacking. I don't know if it's because the show was supposed to be, the best CHIKARA show, not just this year, but maybe even of all time. But it just did kind of feel lacking in some parts. Plus, after watching Sasaki versus Shiozaki, I think it didn't ruin the show for me necessarily, but it definitely ruined the main event because they're two completely different kinds of wrestling matches, and my brain was just not in it. So I'm gonna have to watch that match again sometime. So that's kind of my stance on that. But as far as CHIKARA right now, I'd say we're kind of at a calming point between two storms. I'm going to use the word storms, even though it's not the best phrase to use in this context, but to kind of just bear with me here. I'm going to use the word storms. The first storm ran from when the BDK formed up until King of Trios, when they achieved everything they could possibly achieve with the winning of the tournament. That first storm was the growth of the BDK. The second storm, which hasn't started yet, is the toppling of the BDK, and that will not take as long as the growth, so that means there is a kind of a cooling off period between those two storms, where the shows are not as important, they don't have as much advancement as you would like. The best we can hope for from those shows, which we're in now, since King of Trios, is kind of like sowing the seeds to make the blow off that much better, and that's what they have been doing. They have been doing that pretty well. It just has resulted in the shows feeling less important as a result. The shows are good, don't get me wrong. I don't think that the only show I haven't enjoyed since King of Trios has been Rosario Zen, so the shows have not been bad by any stretch. They just haven't felt as important as they did towards the start of the year. What's happening in CHIKARA now, it does make sense and it does serve a purpose, but it's not necessarily exciting viewing, I would say. Delirious in the Bruderschaft, for example, the only point of that is to weave Ultramantis into the story in a way that actually makes sense and works, because the only way he would ever work with Mike Quackenbush is if he can get back at the group that pretty much destroyed the Neo Solar Temple from within. So that's the only purpose of Delirious in the BDK, because otherwise him as a member is completely unremarkable, not very exciting at all. He's just another member, basically. So as long as he gets Ultramantis into the story in a good way and it makes his part in the end that much better, I'm fine with Delirious in the BDK. As of right now, it just kind of seems pointless right now, even though we know it's not going to be pointless down the line. We have Tommy Dreamer as well, and Tommy Dreamer in CHIKARA, it has a good purpose and it has a worthy purpose. It has the purpose of advancing Eddie Kingston's character as being this guy who's down to earth, he's honest, he knows the meaning of respect, he knows the value of respect, and he understands all that stuff, and that's kind of bringing Tommy Dreamer into Chikara means for Eddie Kingston, and I have no problem with Tommy Dreamer being in Chikara for that reason. It's just that because he's in Chikara, we have to listen to him, do these promos that we've heard him do many times before. So again, the best we can hope for out of these things that aren't exactly exciting right now is that they make the better stuff that much better, and I think that's what's going to happen eventually. Because right now, the Cibernetico, in my mind, which is when you can imagine that the Brutish Shaft will finally meet their doom, looks like this. You have, on one side, you have Kingston, Dreamer, Quackenbush, Ultramantis, the 3 members of the colony, and then Frightmare. And then you have the BDK on the other. I'm not talking about Cibernetico yet. I'm going a bit ahead of myself there. Let's talk about Young Lions Cup. The only one of my team Chikara that I just named there that doesn't really fit quite as much as he should, and I think he does fit, but not quite as much as he should yet, is Frightmare. And the only way to make him fit in more, in my opinion, is to get in the position where the fans want to see him in, winning the Young Lions Cup. Frightmare, and again, Frightmare's victory cannot be just a win for himself, it has to be a victory for the BDK. So what you've got to do is you've got to take Frightmare to Young Lions Cup. There's 3 nights where you can build it up. You can put Frightmare in a position where he's clashing with the Brutish Shaft in a way that makes sure that if Frightmare does win, which I think he will, which I think he should win, you have him taking the victory not just for himself and not just advancing his career in that sense, but you also have him claiming a victory over the BDK as opposed to Lindsay Dorado winning or Tim Donst winning. There you go. You have Frightmare winning, and you have probably the biggest single victory over the Brutish Shaft yet. And then you take Frightmare and then you branch him off into mainly clashing with the perceived younger or lesser known indie stars that make up the BDK. You have Tim Donst, Pinky Sanchez, and Lindsay Dorado in a feud that can continue after the dissolution of the BDK, because I don't want to see just Eddie Kingston getting his satisfaction from Claudio to blow this off. I want to see a few other guys get a huge benefit from this angle and from the ending of this angle. So I would definitely say that not just Frightmare, but the other lesser known indie guys in the Brutish Shaft should definitely get a huge rub as well. So I would definitely say put them and Frightmare together, make some magic happen with those guys, and that would definitely, in my opinion, be the way to go. The only way that's going to work, though, is if the BDK falls as they are, so to speak. If you have them all kind of fall together without any outside underhanded ways of making them fall. You don't want to see one of the members of the group turn in the main plot twist that makes the BDK a non-existent entity. I mean, not just because I want to see Team Chikara get a strong and decisive win where no one can deny that they were the better of the 2 teams, but you also want to keep in mind that the only one, in my opinion, the only one of that group, the Brutish Shaft, who is not a good heel is Lindsay Dorado. His heel turn was absolutely amazing, but his actual heel run is very unremarkable. He's not a very good heel, in my opinion. You could put anyone in that position where they're turning heel in that amazing way, but once you get down to it, he's not very good. And I would say, even though I do want to see him turn babyface after the BDK, I don't want to see him turn on them, because he's not important enough to begin with. So that's not the way I think it should go. It needs to be decisive, and it needs to be in Team Chikara's favour for that to work. So that's kind of where I think they should go as far as Young Lions Cup and as far as who should win and as far as who could lead from there. The second harder question in my mind is who should take the Campeonatos de Parejas off the BDK. This question is harder because the only candidates in my mind at this point are the Colony, Quackenbush and Jigsaw, or even Quackenbush and Ultramantis if they really wanted to go there, and maybe Kingston and Dreamer, maybe, and then at a stretch, I would say Incoherence, at a stretch, but if you're going to have Frightmare win the Young Lions Cup, you don't want to go a bit too far with it, so that's kind of at a stretch, but I definitely don't want to see the Colony do it. That, to me, we've already seen that. I don't want to see that, but I could say that if it were, Quack and a partner, or if it were even Kingston and Dreamer, it would be very easy to say that would be a transitional reign, just to make sense of the ending of the Brutish Shaft, and then they can quickly move the titles over to someone who could make better use of them. At the same time, though, you have to keep in mind that knowing Chikara, the BDK dissolution will not be a perfect victory for the faces or the technicos. It will not be a perfect victory. They can hook you. They probably will hook and drag into something completely different storyline wise, that will kind of make sure that the faces or technicals have something new to pursue, something new to contend with, and in a way that could probably make a tag title reign of Quack and a Partner or from Kingston Dreamer kind of flourish. I don't know how long Tommy Dreamer has committed himself to Chikara, and I definitely wouldn't have him in there any longer if it was necessary. But knowing Chikara, they will find some way to make it make sense and make it work, and hopefully make it exciting as well. That's pretty much me admitting that I don't have all the answers, so to speak, and I don't know what's going to happen with the title belts. But that's a very hard question, in my opinion. It could be someone completely off the radar, or it could be a team that might not sound good on paper, but they will make it work. And I hope that's what does happen. I have a good amount of faith that is what will happen. So that video was just some general thoughts on the creative direction of Chikara. I'll see you guys later. Peace.